If you missed that while I was in Rob's way, I'm Jeff Sherr, and I work with the Department of Public Advocacy in Kentucky. What I want to start out is by saying that there are thousands of excellent public defenders across the country who are right now in courtrooms representing clients. They're in jails talking with clients. They're going and knocking on doors in the hollers of Kentucky and other places interviewing witnesses. But their caseloads are way too high, and they don't have the resources they need. And many of them are demoralized. And unfortunately, they're demoralized by things like what we're doing today. Don't get me wrong, Ms. Bell and Rob and David, this is important what we're doing. But there's a brushstroke that we're painting the sleeping lawyers and the drunk lawyers and the cop-out lawyers, and that paint is splashing over onto the excellent public defenders that are across the country, and they're feeling it. And I think while this stuff is very, very important, and we need to talk about the lawyers out there who are incompetent, and we need to move policymakers to do something about that, we need to also recognize that has an impact on the people who are out there in the field doing it every day. And there are things we can do to help them. My mind is too little to come up with the solutions to these huge problems we're talking about here. But what I can focus on in my little mind is what Clarence Earl Gideon said about his case, that maybe it's one of those small steps forward. There are small steps forward that all of us can do that can make a difference to a client next week, where there are bigger problems that may take a generation or a lifetime to solve. There are things that we can do right away. And that's what we're talking about in this panel, is some of the training aspects and the things that you could do today, next week, to make a difference to those lawyers out there. Cody graduated from this law school in May. Right now, he's in Perry County, Kentucky, in district court representing clients. Kim Green graduated from this law school 4 years ago. She's in Winchester, Kentucky, at Motion Hour, doing felony cases, probably litigating a suppression hearing. I want to talk about what can be done to help them do their jobs with those high caseloads that they have, and share with you a story of another attorney who's out there, an example of what is being done in those situations. This map has been out lately with talking about healthcare and those sort of things. And you can see, if you're not sure where my state is, it's right there. And the darker colors there are illustrating the poverty rates. So I come, and Steve comes, is from a very, very poor state. But we are trying, and we're trying very hard, to do things to help our public defenders represent clients the way that they deserve. We have a full-time public defender system in Kentucky. There are 120 counties in Kentucky. 119 of them are covered by our statewide system, and Louisville is its own nonprofit that has an excellent public defender's office there. I live right there in Woodford. I live there in Woodford. I'm okay. I live in Woodford. If you're wondering where Steve's farm is, he's there in Boyle. He's about 50 miles away from me. But that's what our statewide system looks like. But our caseloads are way too high. This is a breakdown of our offices. The low line there is where our cases should be if they were at the top of caseload standards after you do the math. And you can see every one of our offices is above that. If you do the math, for trial cases, the state of Kentucky pays $227.29, don't forget that, for every trial case. That's across the board, capital case to a misdemeanor case. This is just an average that's there. I want to talk to you about Missy Goodman. Missy Goodman's been with our agency since, I think, 2009. And she came to us, she was a prosecutor in Louisville doing misdemeanor cases for 4 years. And then she moved to Pikeville. I'm not sure why she moved to Pikeville. Far eastern Kentucky in the mountains, coal country. And was a prosecutor there for a couple of years. And then she made the choice to come and work with us in an office that had had a lot of turnover. It was a very young office, and she, coming in with those 6 years of experience, was one of the most experienced attorneys in that office. All of our lawyers, and let me show you, this is, if you're driving to find the public defender's office in Pikeville when she was working there, it's different now. You drive through these storage units, and you get to the storage unit that's been converted into a public defender office. That was her office starting out. We've been able to get an office now next to the courthouse that looks a little bit better. This was her caseload in the year I'm going to talk about. She had 280 cases opened in that year. 177 of those are felonies. So the maximum of the standards of just the felonies is 150. If you count it the way the prosecutors count it by cases handled, they count cases that go over a year from one year into the next. She had 404 cases in that year. Too many, right? But she is a good lawyer. She's someone we would want representing somebody we know, but she's being overworked. She's got too many cases. So very early in her career, she came to a place we call Fawbush, which is where I was last week at this time, which is our Trial Litigation Institute. And she came as an experienced lawyer, so she got to bring a case she was working on rather than work on a case problem. And she came in and came up and talked to me, and Kathy was there, and another public defender, Lorinda Youngcourt, and was in tears on the first night talking about her case. And she was saying, I don't know if I can do this. And she had a case with a dead baby and awful autopsy pictures. And she's showing us these pictures, and it's 10 o'clock at night on Sunday night, and she doesn't know if she can do this work. But people like Kathy and Lorinda work with her, take her through all the discovery, through the week, help her understand what's going on, help her find a way to connect with this client who she came in Sunday hating, so that she was able to go back and work with that client and find an appropriate settlement for what that case was. It's not a case that went to trial and got an acquittal. But she was able to get through that, to learn these skills, to do the investigation, get the prosecutor down on a plea, and have a relationship with the client that she was having problems with. One example of training making a difference. Check my notes. Let me show you. This is Jay Barrett, excellent attorney. He runs our Moorhead office. He was in court one day, and one of the judges came up to him and said, you know, you guys are not pulling your weight in probation revocation cases. So a lot of folks would push back and get offended and fight the judge. But Jay said, okay, tell me what's going on. And I'll come watch next week. Let's see what's happening here. And he sees things going on there that concern him. So he comes to me in training and the leadership of our organization, Ernie Lewis, Ed Monahan, and others, and says, she's right. We need to do something about this. So because we have a full-time public defender system and because we value training, 2 weeks later, we have all of our leaders are in the office. They come together 4 times a year, at least, and we train them up on probation revocation and issues around probation revocation. And then we put out a distance learning. Those directors go back and say, this is an issue I want to talk about in our office. We put out a distance learning. This is on my Gideon that Rob's going to be talking about later, that the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute provides to us in Kentucky and others to use for free as a way to get this stuff out. And Jay puts together a handout that lays out, blow by blow, what you need to be doing in these cases. So Tracy Hancock goes back to her, she's the directing attorney in Pikeville. She goes back, she has an office meeting. She said, what's going on with these cases? And they talk about it, and they do the training. They watch the distance learning, they look at these resources, and Missy Goodman, the woman who was about to quit back at Fawbush, gets this training. She's going in to cover court for somebody else with a judge she doesn't know very well. Emma's out on maternity leave, I believe that's right. And I want to share with you what happened there. Another unusual thing about Kentucky is we don't have court reporters. It's all videotaped. So I think for an appellate attorneys, that makes life really hard because there are no transcripts. They have to watch the whole trials and end up doing it themselves. For trainers like me and for today, it's good because then I can show you what happened. So hopefully the technology is going to work for me. Is there somebody who can help me with the lights? Can you do that while you're videotaping me? So I take down the lights. I've put in subtitles so you can hear, or if you have any problems with Pikeville accidents. And as soon as we get the lights, I'll hit the go button here.
Your motion.
It's not my motion, Your Honor. I filed a response to it.
Your response, I'm sorry.
Okay. My response, Your Honor, is that I am at a disadvantage because I'm not sure why we're here. The special supervision report threw a bunch of facts out there and asked for an arrest warrant. I don't know what he's supposedly done to violate probation. But in any event, Your Honor, it's my contention, based on the case law, that he was not on probation until the order was signed and entered in the clerk's office on November 19th.
Well, I think the judgment was signed on November 10th, maybe? Yes.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, the judgment I'm looking at says November 19th.
It says stamped.
No. There's probably just been a miscommunication.
I think we're ready.
I wonder if this is a different case, maybe.
Maybe.
But in any event, Your Honor, case law is clear that the order is not official until it's entered in the clerk's office.
That's incorrect. He was on bond then, he violated his bond. You take your choice.
Well, I mean, we need to know why
And
we're here.
here's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
You can take your choice on this one, bond violation or probation violation. It's one or the other. But from henceforth, Commonwealth, anytime Miss Goodman has a person who is to be probated, they will not be released from custody until such time as the probation officer gets an opportunity to visit the jail, and they're signed up, and they have their written instructions, and that will be at the convenience of the probation officer, which may take weeks. Feel that. Anything else? Your motion's overruled for your response.
Please enter specific findings. I don't want to file an appeal.
I just did.
Well, okay. Please put it in the order so I can file an appeal.
You're more than welcome to. Now, you desire a formal hearing on this revocation?
I don't even know why we're here. There's
Well,
no...
sit down, we're gonna tell you why.
Okay. Your Honor, he has to be notified in writing of how he violated his probation that he wasn't on.
Sit down, we're gonna have a hearing. To avoid this confusion from now on, Ms. Goodman's clients will be rewarded by staying in jail until all the paperwork is completed. We will not give them any benefit of the doubt because of Ms. Goodman.
I just want the law to be followed.
I'm gonna follow the law, okay? You have anything else you want to say, Ms. Goodman?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so given that offer of, do you have anything else to say, Ms. Goodman? One way to respond to this, and this may be the Steve Singer way.
You're out of order. You're out of order. The whole trial is out of order. They're out of order.
It takes much less in New Orleans to get locked up than that.
But I have one more bit of a clip. But Missy's been to our training, and she knows that doing that is not going to be effective, not going to preserve the issue for her, not going to help her client. So this is, I want to show you just a little bit of what she does and tell you what happened.
Argument, Ms. Goodman?
Your Honor, the case law states that a judgment to be effective must be entered upon the order book and signed by the presiding judge. That is in National Life and Accident versus Hedges. Also, Commonwealth versus Wilson says that courts of record speak only through their orders duly entered and signed by the judge in books provided for that purpose. I would like to tender this case law to Your Honor and just allow you time to review that before you enter your ruling.
You can submit it. I'm familiar with it.
So Missy preserves the issue. She stays calm. It goes to our appellate lawyers because we have a statewide system. They take this up. Patent versus Commonwealth reverses that judge, and the client gets relief. Given the way things work in Kentucky, I think if Missy had met the judge in kind, we probably wouldn't have got this result. Seeing that stark contrast between the judge and an excellent lawyer made the Court of Appeals go the right direction on this. I know it seems obvious here in Harvard that that's the only right direction it could happen. Things don't necessarily play out that way in Pikeville, Kentucky. So as I wrap up, I wanted to say something about this and then talk about a couple resources. For every sleeping lawyer that's out there, there are thousands of Missy Goodmans out there. And we need to be careful as we talk about and advocate for system change to be aware of them and not demoralize them. We need them out there desperately doing what they do. And we need to think about things we can do, small steps we can do, doing a distance learning, taking advantage of free resources free to us that the Short Hills Hamilton Houston Institute is providing us, so that she can help a client today. So Cody and Hazard can do it. So Kim, so people who didn't get to go to Harvard who are representing our clients can do it. And so across the state, the country. A few resources, I've held up. I want to thank the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute for making the My Gideon available, because that's had a big impact on Kentucky, and I may come and talk about it a little bit more with this My Gideon toolbox that we'll talk about. Another thing that's been mentioned a few times today, and you're going to get to see the video that Dawn did about Gideon's Promise. It's an important way to help people right away. That there are attorneys, new attorneys who are going to Birmingham and a part of a 3-year program who are being trained up. Kathy and Delia and I are on the core faculty there. It's doing excellent work for them, and it's expanding to include their leaders and to include people who are graduates of that program and law students and law clinic professors with trainer aspects of it. And it's reaching a good number of people. And it's something that's a small step. If there's a way you can support that or get involved with that, I encourage you to, and there'll be more information about them later today. Unfortunately, that sort of 3-week program or 2-week program into a 3-year program isn't going to get to the thousands and thousands of public defenders across the country. It's going to get to hundreds of them, and that's great. There's a new organization I want you to be aware of that's called the National Association for Public Defense. There'll be a press release, I believe, coming out late next week about this, and the goal of this organization is to be an organization created for public defenders that its singular mission is about public defense. They changed the name to For Public Defense rather than Of Public Defenders because they want to be broader. It's not just about the lawyers. It's about investigators, it's about mitigation specialists, social workers, clients who want to be involved, anyone who wants to be involved with this. And it's going to focus on a big focus on training, a big focus on sharing resources, as well as the broader policy things that we've been talking about today. I'm going to talk to the people on the video in the future, because this web page here, not quite ready for prime time. So you people in the room, if you wait till next week, it'll look better. If you look at it today, it's there, but give it a week. Don't tell other people about it for another week. Those of you in the future, publicdefenders.us, go to this. It'll tell you more about the organization. I'm one of the primary editors of this. What we're modeling part of it on is a Huffington Post, and we're developing exclusive content for public defense for all of our staff so that you can go to that page and find articles that relate to broad policy things, to everyday things, to what it's like to be a public defender, to something you can put in your toolbox to use today to help clients. So I encourage you to get involved with NAPD, watch for that, and get involved with Gideon's Promise as well. And thank you for listening to me, and I'll turn things over to Kathy Bennett.